good to go. Let's try it.
Okay. Hey, this is Gary Kaihara, and another episode of the Ben and Gary Show. But unfortunately, Ben's not here today, so he's actually in Baltimore celebrating his wife's birthday. So that's a good thing. But with me, joining me today is Rick Bishop, who is our lab ceramist, and he has been with the practice for 18 years now, and he is from the Finger Lakes region of New York. So, Rick, I'll tell you, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right.
Doesn't have to be extensive, but
okay.
just,
just
the
a snippet,
highlights.
A snippet.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, it's the Rick and Gary Show today. So I like the name of that. I have been here 18 years. I've been in the business, I hate to say, even 40 years. I started out in a commercial laboratory, which is totally different from this environment. I'm very, very fortunate to be in this environment because I get to see the patients, and that's huge to me. And I just, I couldn't ask for anything better to be working with the patients and with you guys. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have him
Good.
here.
Thank you.
He's very talented, very artistic, and he actually makes us look good. So today we wanted to talk about artistry in the dental field, and part of that is having our ceramist and lab support right here in the office. And for me, I feel like I'm very privileged and blessed to be able to have this kind of talent right in our office. So when we talk about artistry, it involves a lot of different facets. Part of it is the patient with their desires and what they have in their vision as far as what they would like to see as the end product. And so when we start a case, we always look at the patient's smile, of course, and part of that is looking at where the teeth are positioned, if there's any malalignments as far as if their teeth are crooked or crowded, also any teeth that are rotated. And the other part of it is looking at where their lips are positioned relative to their teeth. So a lot of that just goes into how we treatment plan. But the other part is when we have Rick come in and actually meet the patient, and that's just the beginning of the process. From there we can work through and determine what the patient wants and how we can deliver that type of excellence as far as the end product of the crowns or veneers, whatever that may be. So when we start a case, we'll talk to the patient for a bit, but we also will have Rick come in to meet the patient. And Rick is a very social guy, so he likes to speak with the patient. And Rick, why don't you tell...
I like to talk, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, he likes to talk a lot. But no, seriously though, he's great with patients and makes them feel very comfortable. So some of the things that you like to find out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a tremendous advantage for the patient to meet with the actual person that's actually going to make their prosthesis. I mean, it's huge. It's a huge difference. When I go in with the team, I'll talk to the patient. While I'm talking to the patient, I'll actually look at their teeth, which we all do.
Right.
Even walking down the street, that's what we do. But I get a feel for what they want, what their needs are, and I can see, knowing what the treatment plan is before I go in, I kind of look and say, I'm thinking to myself while they're talking, I do this a little different or that a little different. Mm-hmm. And when we talk, and then I'll actually get the patient involved. Mm-hmm. So the patient actually becomes part of the team also.
Right.
What are your expectations? What do you want in the end? What don't you like? What do you like? All these questions that I can ask the patient really sets the foundation for what we're going to do, whether it's a single tooth or a full rehab. It's really really key, I think.
Right, and I think it also brings the personal side or the personal touch to what we do in our practice. So having Rick come in, it gets, number one, the patient knows who he is, and they develop fairly long-term relationships, because oftentimes it's not just one crown that we're doing, it's several over the course of years. I mean, usually when I'm doing a single unit, a single crown, that's in the back and the shade is a little bit off and it just doesn't quite match our shade tabs, Rick will come in and he'll be able to deliver that personal touch and make it a very custom shade for that patient, so it blends in so beautifully with the rest of their teeth or crowns. So that's part of the advantage, and that's part of what Rick's talking about.
Right. And like Dr. Watkins alluded to in the last episode, there's shade guides. There's the Bible, they call it. This is the one that's been around for years and years and years. And then there's other shade guides that have, so you can see the array of different shades that you can use. But again, these are guides. These are not teeth. Doing a single central is probably the hardest thing in dentistry to do. So it's the focal point. It's the first thing you see in a patient's mouth, and you're putting next to a real tooth. If an assistant can take a shade in a XYZ office, and it's an A2, and write A2 on the prescription. Well, it's not really an A2. There's more to it. There's characterizations. There's surface texture. There's chroma, hue, without getting too technical, the degree of brightness or grayness, the amount of translucency. That's something you cannot convey over a written prescription. You just can't. And you can try, and you give all the information and photos you want, but it's just different, that one-on-one. Again, the person that's making that tooth, I make lots of notes, I make some drawings. This is something that's standard in this office. I can make a quick sketch on where translucent areas are, where check lines are, surface texture, any characterizations. I do a quick sketch like this, and then the doctors are always great at taking excellent photos that they can email me, and while I'm working on the tooth, I can pull those up. So all this information is just key to making excellent restoration.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to ask Rick a question here, because oftentimes we will take a shade, and when the crown comes back, it'll have all these different characterizations that he does to our crowns to make them look like a tooth. And I've always wondered, but he's never seen the patient. That's the other part of the conversation here. But he'll know that certain things just have to be in place there to make it look so natural. And how do you do that?
So now you're going to make me say I've been in this business 40 years, and through that experience, there's certain, again, the big advantage for a ceramist, that's why I'm very fortunate, I get to see crowns in the mouth. I get to see patients, whether they're anterior or posterior.
Yeah.
There's certain shades, like a darker shade has certain nuances to it, certain stains here and there that you just automatically know or an older patient has certain characteristics in their teeth, and you just put them in, and it just helps the teeth blend and make them look more natural. Again, you can put in an A4. That's fine. It will work great. You'll be able to chew on it, but we'd like to go beyond that. Again, we get back into the artistry of dentistry. So it's just kind of
just experiencing.
Mostly I wing it.
Okay, so there you go. Thanks for answering that question. But part of the other facet is that when we go to deliver the crowns, the crown may need just a little something, subtle change. And with Rick here in the office, we can have him come back into the operatory and look at that crown, and he comes right back to the lab here, makes that change. And so the patient doesn't have to come back. Sometimes the contact may not be quite as tight as we'd like, and he can add the contact, and just a lot of different little things that make our practice more unique than the next person, their next office. So it's always nice to have that. I call it a luxury, but it's really a benefit for the patient to be able to not have to come back, and after with 15 minutes of extra time, Rick can do all those changes, and then we can deliver the crown the same day. So it's such an advantage, and it's really such a benefit for our patients. Now I know that people will have come up with very creative ways to hide their smiles, and sometimes it comes down to like putting their hands over their mouth or pursing their lips, but with the talent that we have here, it's just another reason that if you do want to change your smile, we've got the team here to take care of that. So I would just encourage anyone that's watching to, if there's something that they just don't like about their smile that's been bugging you for a while, please give us a call, because we would love to talk about it. And I know that Rick would do a super job for you.
Thank you.
No, so
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. But is there anything else we need to cover here?
just, I mean,
as far as I know, I left a lot of stuff out.
No, you did fine. You can come back next week.
Okay, right.
Just when you alluded to, people hiding their smiles, there is no better gratification, I think, from anybody in this office, not just us two,
Yeah.
to deliver a case and have the patient, somebody actually get emotional. And that makes me emotional, and we all kind of look at the ceiling a little bit. But when they say that now I can smile, that to me,
Oh yeah,
that makes my day.
that's
Makes
true.
more than my day. But
Yeah.
and then a comment that one of your patients made just last week, he was sitting there and we delivered a single central, and he said it's great to be in the company of artists, and that floored me.
Oh yeah, that
was
made my
great.
day.
Yeah.
That was very
So-
kind of him, and it's always gratifying to be able to deliver a product that people will be happy with, and it'll last for years. And so it brings us a very warm, fuzzy feeling to all of us here.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
all I
what's that?
That's all I have.
So I think
Thank you for asking me
yeah.
to do this today, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. So I think that kind of wraps up what we have as far as the Ben and Gary and Rick show, or Rick, Ben, and Gary show.
Yeah.
But please send us your questions if you have any. We'd love to answer them, and maybe we can talk about it on the show. So have a great weekend, and thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great, wonderful.